You're tuned in to The Thinking Class with Lawrence D. Adams. Let's go.
Salute everybody. This is Lawrence D. Adams. I am testing out everything. What's going on? Let me get started here. Let me put my banner up. What's going on? Different setup, different studio setup today. Changing things around for about 3 or 4 hours. But hey, let's get going. Today we're talking about the art of silent power, mastering influence without saying a word. Let me say that again. The art of silent power, mastering influence without saying a word. My first thing is this quote I want to put out there for everybody that's listening is this. I gotta find somewhere to put my water. The first thing I want to put out there is this. The loudest in the room is the weakest in the room. Let me say that again. The loudest in the room is the weakest in the room. The loudest person, no boisterous. They are explaining that I did this, I accomplished that. I went over here. I was in Spain. I was over in Brazil. I was in Colombia. I was doing all. The loudest in the room is the weakest. Let me say that again. The loudest in the room is normally, if you check it out, it's normally the weakest. And what's so interesting is if you sit back and you get quiet and watch them, you'll see that they're trying to overcompensate for the insecurities and their lack or the lack of in their life. That is just what it is. It's funny, I watch people that are just completely loud. I mean, they are boisterous. I did this, I did that. You see them on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We just seen it just this week, in Washington, D.C. You gotta learn. The loudest in the room is normally the weakest. So I want to definitely get that. So let's get to the first point is the psychology of silent power. Why do people fear silence? Why do people fear silence? Most people talk too much because they are uncomfortable with the silence. Let me say that again. Most people talk too much. Let me move my leaning over there. It's gonna be in a shot. This is what it is right now. Let me put it right there. 1 second. There we go. Okay. Most people talk too much because they are uncomfortable with silence. You can see that when you're talking to someone that they just keep on going and going, and they keep on going and going, and keep on talking and talking and talking. I remember when I was younger, my father used to be a guy who can talk a lot. And he ran across one of the neighbors that lived up the street or up the hill from us. And my father came back and said, this guy out talks me. I was even floored. Sometimes most people talk too much because they're uncomfortable with the silence. The next point is, into the psychology of silence power, is the strength of restraint. Those who speak less are perceived as more thoughtful and powerful. You need to take this in right here. Those who speak less are perceived as more what? Thoughtful and powerful. If I can tell you through the course of my life, watching people in public and private spaces, the ones who who doesn't speak that much, but is pretty quiet, are thoughtful, are perceived to be thoughtful and powerful. Let me say that again. The strength of restraint. Those who speak less are perceived as more thoughtful and powerful. The next one is loud insecurities and quiet confidence. Real power doesn't need to be proven. Look right there. Let me stop right there. Real power doesn't need to be proven. Real power does not need to be proven. You can always tell someone's trying to prove who they are, what they did, how they accomplished something. They want to tell you, I went to this school, I did this, I went over here, I talked to this person, I had these many women, I talked to these many guys, I did all that. I'm telling you, real power doesn't need to prove anything. And we have a lot of people who are getting on these social medias and in person, as James Brown would say, talking loud, but ain't saying nothing. Real power has nothing to prove. You think about that. What are you trying to prove by you overcompensating for what words that doesn't even make sense, that's not even in context? So loud and insecure and quiet and confidence. The law of unpredictability. The less you say, the harder it is for people to read you. Let me say that again. The less you say, the harder it is for people to read you. The less that you say, the harder it is for people to read you. If you're gonna really ride in mastering influence without saying a word, it is the less that you say, the harder it is for people to read you. What gets a lot of people in trouble, and we can see this in the political arena, we can see this in our life, we can see it in our family, we can see it in church, we can see it in the mosque, the temple. The less you say, it's harder is it for people to read you. People know everything about you because you talk too doggone much. You tell everything in the kitchen sink, and they already figure you out. They already pegged you. They already put you in a shoebox. They already know what you're going to say next. You're too predictable. You talking too much. This goes back to the next one. You're trying to prove something. I'm telling you, the less you say, the harder it is for people to read you. Let me put it another way, because sometimes it may not be the words you say. The less you comment or respond or reply, the harder it is for people to read who you really are. Some people and some situations do not deserve your attention nor your comments. The less you say, the harder it is for people to read you. So let me go over these over again, and I'm gonna go to the next one. Why people fear silence? Most people talk too much because they are uncomfortable with silence. Some people cannot handle where it's quiet. That's something I love. I can just relax and not say a word and just enjoy the silence. The other one is the strength of restraint. Those who speak less are perceived more thoughtful and more powerful. How are you perceived? Are you perceived as a big mouth? Are you perceived as someone that's thoughtful or who's powerful? Because you talking too much. You're saying too much. How are you really perceived because you're talking too much? Loud and insecure, quiet and confident. Real power doesn't need to prove. Let me say that again. Real power doesn't need to prove. Those who have power and those who have money don't need to prove that they have power, nor that they have to prove that they have money. They don't need to prove anything to you. Why? You know why? Because they're confident in who they are. And to try to prove to you is proof that they don't have what they say they are. Let me say that again. I do not need to prove to anyone that I am a man. Why? Or I am the man. Because I know that when I walk into the room. I knew that when my feet hit the floor after I get out of bed. I knew that when I was laying down. I have nothing to prove to anybody. But you can always tell those who are trying to prove something that they're loud and insecure and they lack what? Confidence. Practical strategies for mastering silent power. Body language is king. Let me say that again. Body language is king. Strong posture, controlled movements, and steady eye contact. Let me say that this right here, this y'all need to really get this. Strong posture, that you're sitting upright. Controlled movements. You're not all over the place and jittery and move your hands all and you moving around like this, moving around like that. No, you controlled in your movements. And steady eye contact. What do I mean by steady eye contact? That you have the ability to look at someone eye to eye. I normally can tell a lot when a person can't look me eye to eye because I'm going to look right through your soul. But steady eye contact. Your eye contact says a lot about you. The next part of this is move with purpose, not fidgety or nervous gestures. I was pretty much saying that. A lot of you guys, when you're moving, or this goes for men and women, when you're men, especially men, when you're walking, walk like you got a purpose. Walk like you're going somewhere, even if you're just going around the corner. Most people walk like they don't know where they're going. They're aimlessly doing things, and they're nervous and fidgety and playing with their hands. No. The body language is king. Body language is king and body language of a king. Let me say this good point right here. Let silence linger after speaking to increase impact. Let silence linger after speaking to increase impact. Some of y'all need to slow down when you're speaking and allow the other person to digest what you said. You on 100 miles and running with your thoughts and your mouth ain't caught up yet. You need to slow down. Let silence linger after speaking to increase impact. What do you mean by that, LDA? That means when you're saying something, sit back, say your statement or say a sentence. Stop. Allow the person to process or fall into the silence and then begin to speak again. Let silence linger after speaking to increase impact. This leads into the next one is listening as a weapon. I don't know why people don't get this one. Listening as a weapon. The person who listens the most has the most power. The person who listens the most has the most power. I wish people really get this one. If you look at, I'm thinking the Godfather series. It was Michael in there, who didn't really speak that much, but when he spoke, everybody listened and they were afraid. The person who listened the most has the most power. Let me say this. Sometimes you need to listen twice as much as you speak. Those who listen the most. Let me tell you something about listening too. When you listen, you can hear what they're saying and what they're not saying. You can pick up their body language. You can pick up their gestures. You can pick up what's really going on with them. And you can also, when you listen, you can feel their intentions. Some of y'all need to listen more than what you say. Active listening makes people reveal their true thoughts. Let me say that again for those in the back of the room. Active listening makes people reveal their true thoughts. The reason why the game ain't working for you. Strategy, that's all game is, from point A to point B. The reason why it's not working is because people are not listening and they're not getting the real thoughts or the true thoughts of what that particular woman is or what that particular deal is, because they're not listening. And many times people hear to respond instead of listening to give a proper response. But active listening reveals the true thoughts, reviews their true thoughts. Use strategic pauses to make others feel the need to fill the space. I should not be sharing this. I should not be sharing this. Use strategic pauses to make others feel the need to fill the space. What do you mean by strategic pauses? When you're talking, you allow that person to put their thoughts in the pause. Now, if you think about what I just did, because I just gave you a clear example of it, is when you slow down, pronounce your words, and go to your next point, the people's imagination falls in between spaces. You're wondering why things are not working? It's because you're communicating, you're talking too fast, and you're not pausing, and you're not allowing people's imagination to fill the spot or fill that space in between what you're saying. Think about what I just did. I'd allowed you to fill into that space of that silence that I just gave. And now you're like, wow, I see what you're talking about. Let's go to C, the art of the pause. And you'll see this becomes a little bit redundant, but I want you to really get it. Why speaking slower and use of silence creates dominance. Why speaking slower and using silence creates dominance. You normally can tell a lot about a person if they're constantly talking fast and they're going real fast. They're trying to explain something to do this, to do that, because I can talk real fast. But when you begin to slow down, use silence to create dominance. I remember my sons, they had got into a fight. Mother called me and said, the boys had got into a fight and not getting along. I said, stay less. I will be over there after work. So I drove over to the house. They were upstairs in their bed. Lights were out. They had, what's going on, Wade? The lights were out and they were in the bed, just sleeping away. And I slowly crept up into the attic where they slept at because it was finished. They had 2 twin-size beds, one on one side, one on the other side. And what happened is, as they were sleeping in the bed, I got a chair and put it in between the 2 beds. And then I karate chopped them both at the same time. You say you did what? I karate chopped them. I karate chopped them both at the same time. And they're like, what's going on? What's going on? Hey, who is this? And the lights were still out. And then I said, don't ever let me hear about you two fighting again. Let me say it how I really, really got down and said, I said, don't let me ever hear about you boys fighting each other, or I'm going to fight you. And when I fight you, you will not win. Do you understand me? I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to touch him. But because I spoke slowly and used the silence to create dominance, guess what happened? That was more impactful than me yelling at them and screaming at them or even hitting them. Because later on, as they grew up, they said, Dad, we didn't know what you was going to do to us. My one son said, I thought you was about to kill us. I said, I'm not going to kill you, son. I'm not going to kill you, son. I'm not going to kill you. But they were shaken up because they didn't know what to do. Because my words were carefully thought out. I used the correct pauses to create dominance, to let them know that I am not playing with you and I am not the one. I'm giving you this game right here. How pauses before responding makes your words more valuable. When someone's talking to you and you're ready to give a response right on the Johnny on the spot, you need to step back, take a pause, take a minute and digest what they said to you. What's going on, Wade? What's going on, Impeccable One? Let me make sure I honor you guys to say what's going on, Wade. What's going on? LDA, this is a elite collegiate game. Much love. Appreciate you, Blair. Appreciate you. But let me get this. How pausing before responding makes your words more valuable. Let me say this right here. When you're responding to someone, the biggest thing you can do, take a deep breath, pause, and then speak. Say it again. If they're saying you ain't nothing but you ain't who you think you are, you ain't all that, take a deep breath, pause, and then respond. What happens is it makes your words more valuable. Let me say that again. It makes your words more valuable when you take that pause and be like, I see what you're saying. Then when you give your response, it's more weightier. It has more depth to it. Some of y'all have not mastered the game or the way to speak so that your words are more valuable than what they are. I mean, more valuable, period. But let me say this. how pausing before responding makes your words more valuable. So before you go through the red light, before you go through yellow, take a pause and stop, and then respond. When you do that, it makes your words more valuable. The next point is mastering the unspoken response. A simple look or a head nod can say more than words. Let me say that again. Mastering the unspoken response. Certain things you don't need to respond to. I watch a lot of YouTube, and I watch master communicators. I can think of 3 people right offhand. I'm thinking of Osho. He was a mystic back in the 60s, 70s from India. He had, I think about 12 Rolls Royces, whatever. But when he talked, he slowed down and he thought about what he said. It was almost hypnotic when he spoke because he wasn't in a rush. And I remember when they were questioning Osho about his wealth and about his Rolls Royces and about his life, he said, And they were saying, don't you think having 12 Rolls Royces is a lot? He stopped. He said, no. 12 Rolls Royces are not enough. I should have a Rolls Royce for every day of the year. And then he went on and said, in so many words, I'm not here for the poor. I'm here for the rich. Let those other religions deal with the poor. I'm here to deal with the rich. And when he was talking, and I watched it like, I don't know, thousands of times, it was almost like he was drawing you in with his words, because he knew how to do the right pauses. He knew how to master the unspoken response, how to nod his head, and he knew how to get you to hang on every word that he shared. When you want to master the art of silent power, mastering influence without saying a word, you got to know where to put those pauses. You put it at the beginning. You put it in the middle of a sentence. You put it before you respond. When you do that, oh my God, it takes everything to the next level. Let's go to the next one. Selective speech. Say less is more. Speak when necessary. Every word should have impact. Let me say that again. Speak when necessary. Every word should have impact. This right here is so important. When we look at the landscape of our political arena, and we look at social media, people talking online, when you speak when necessary, what's going on, Tony Franz? Good to see you, brother. Every word should have impact. What am I saying? You should not be a blabbermouth. You should not be just running off telling people what's on your mind. You should speak when necessary, and every word should be impactful. I think of this particular individual, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he would speak very slowly, but very intentionally, and his words are impactful. Silent storm, right? He did not mince his words when he told Malcolm Don't say nothing about the shooting of JFK. So be quiet. Malcolm did not master the art of what? Being silent. He went on and said something anyway. And they had to what? Silence Malcolm X because he broke the rules that I'm giving right here. What? How to be quiet, knowing when to speak. Speaking when necessary, every word should be impactful. And because Malcolm spoke out of turn and he didn't listen to delegated authority, he got himself in trouble. He got himself quiet. He could not speak in the mosque for, I think it was a year or 6 months, and to get himself together because he violated these rules. He said something now that's sketched in history because he spoke out of turn. Speak when necessary. Every word should have impact. Avoid oversharing. Let people wonder about your next move. Avoid oversharing. Some of y'all are telling everything about you, and you're oversharing. Let people wonder about your next move. If you're going to have the art of silent power, you can't be telling everybody what your next move is, because then they're going to meet you at your next move. They say, "What you doing here?" "Because you told me what it was." Learn to shut your mouth and stop oversharing. Everyone's not going to be happy about what you're about to do and where you're about to go. Stop oversharing. Shut your mouth. See how you feel that word in? Shut your mouth up. You're oversharing. Be quiet. The next one is the mystery factor. Why people respect those who don't reveal everything. Why do people respect those who don't reveal everything? Everything should not be shared on social media. Everything should not be shared even with family. Everything should not be shared in a business transaction. You will lose negotiation power because you're oversharing or you're too zealous to get the deal. People respect those who don't reveal everything. Y'all doing that in relationships? You revealing everything? Be quiet. You got to learn when to shut your mouth. The next point is the power of unpredictability. Keep people guessing by being unpredictable with speech and action. Let me say that again. Keep people guessing by being unpredictable with speech and in action. What do you mean by keep people if everybody know that you're gonna say that's what's up, that's cool, I feel that. They know your next line that you're going to say. You need to be unpredictable in your speech and in your actions. You should not be so predictable that I know at 10 o'clock I should know where you at. You're too predictable, and you're too predictable in your speech. Slow down and become unpredictable in your speech. The next point is use control silence to make people lean in. What do you mean by that? When you master the art of silence and you use controlled silence, people will draw in and listen more to you when you have that correct pause and you use silence not as a weapon, but as a tool. When you use control silence, people will lean in. What do you mean they're leaning? They're physically lean in to hear what you have to say next. Use, control, silence to make people lean in. Now, this point right here, better be ready for this. You better be ready for this one. Where, how many more minutes? Oh, I'm good, doing good time. You'll see this on social media. You will see this so much. Woo, boy. Quiet men with presence are more respected than loud talkers. Let me say that again. Quiet men with presence are more respected than loud talkers. Let me say that. A quiet man who can sit in the corner or sit at the bar or sit at the church, who doesn't need to announce that he's there and has a presence about him. What do you mean? When he walks in, the whole essence of who he is walks in. It's more respected than the loud talker. I normally watch the person who's talking loud because I know one or two things. Their actions don't line up with their words. I really take notice of the man who's really quiet because I know he's observing and I can't read him. I don't know his next move. So he comes more of a interest to me because I want to know, what is he going to do next and what is he going to say? Quiet men with presence are more respected than loud talkers. I want you to really think about this. Are you the loud talker or are you the man with the presence? Think about it. Let's be completely honest here. Are you the one that's constantly talking? We can't get you to shut up. Or are you the man with a quiet presence? You speak, you know how to pause, you know how to be quiet. Your presence needs to be speaking louder than your words. Even on, I'm going to say this, even on these social media streets, political streets, you notice the ones that are talking the most don't have the power. I promise you, it always pans out that way. Right. Silent, you said mystery. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman Empire emperor who ruled with wisdom and restraint. Michael Jordan, let his actions and presence speak louder than trash talking. Business, first of them examples, business and leadership, Jeff Bezos. Y'all may not like Elon Musk. Rarely talks, but when they do, everyone listens. Warren Buffett, selected words, but unmatched financial power. So let me go to street and social dynamic. The most respected man in any setting does not prove themselves, don't need to prove themselves. The most respected man in any setting don't need to prove themselves. Let me give you a tactic that people will try to do. You need to please pay attention. Put a number 1 in the chat room for this one. Put a number 1 in the chat room for this one. Put a number 1 in the chat room from this one. I hope you guys, I can change the setup a little bit, lights and, change the setup. But put a number 1 in the chat room for this one right here. You need to get this one right here. Went for everyone to put a number 1. Put a number 1 in the chat room. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Put a number 1 in the chat room because this one right here, I want you to really get this one. because the most respected man in any setting doesn't need to prove himself. But I want you to really get this one. Pay attention to what I'm about to say. Anytime someone's trying to draw you into a debate, because I'm on Facebook, I watch it, or in person, they will try to draw you to prove your credibility and who you are. Remember, you don't need to prove anything to anyone. So if you're in a discussion with someone and they want you to prove yourself, don't fall for the trap. What do you mean, LDA? If someone's debating or you're talking with someone and they're trying to get you to prove who you are, or to prove your credentials, or try to prove that you know what you're talking about. Well, who said that you knew what you were talking about? I see this on Facebook a lot. They're trying to get you to prove something. That is bait, and you have nothing to prove to anyone. And what happens is you only prove yourself. Pay attention to this. You only prove yourself to someone that is higher. It's a debate. It's a tactic. When you try to prove to someone, you're trying to prove to someone that is of higher status, or you're trying to prove yourself to someone to convince them that you are somebody. So you do not need to prove yourself to anyone. I recently seen it happen with a particular individual, and they wanted me to prove what I did in the community and what do I do in real life. Or what do I do outside of these YouTube streets and these Instagram streets and Facebook streets? And once I realized that, I stopped the conversation and realized I have nothing to prove. This is not a tit for tat. We're not on the same page. I have nothing to prove to you. Pay attention to this. Why would a king prove something to a peasant? He's the king. Why would a queen prove something to a servant? She's the queen. When you have to prove something to someone, you already lost. What does that say? Then the being said, or you shall after you ain't given. I'm just trying to think what you're saying. I'm gonna have to move this up. This sounds like some game in the 48 Laws of Power. That being said, you gotta rewrite what you said, Ree. I'm trying to figure out what you were saying. I want to make sure I'm on the same point playing with you, or we're in the same place. But you have nothing to prove anyone. When you start trying to prove yourself, it's when you already lost. And how do you stop that? When someone's trying to prove, what you do is you get quiet or you don't respond. Because it was interesting. I was like, this individual is trying to get me to prove what I do in these streets for real. How do I help people for real? How do I help men? How do I help women? What? No. I don't need to put my resume out to you, because who are you? So the best thing you can do is say, dear ma'am, dear sir, I have nothing to prove. I have nothing to prove. Matter of fact, you don't even have to acknowledge it. Best thing you can do is to grow silence with it. So let's talk about this last point: common mistakes that kills your silent power. Talking too much. People who talk the most get played the most. Yeah. Let me say that again. How much time I got? Oh, I got less than 15 minutes. Talking too much. People talking too much. People who talk the most get played the most. You can always see it. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Oh, I said when you don't prove yourself, then they will say you too, you're back in your shell. Yeah, you're back in your shell. That's all a tactic to get you to prove yourself. I see what you're saying, Reese. I got you. Oh, I got you. Even if they say you back in your shell, that's their way of trying to draw you out. I need to prove nothing. I need to prove nothing to anyone. Now, y'all need to pay attention to these these common mistakes that kill silent power. Talking too much. People who talk the most get played the most. The next one, reacting emotionally instead of observing first. If you can see what happened with the political arena this week, reacting emotionally instead of observing first. Pull your emotions into check. Reacting emotionally instead of observing first. Oversharing personal details. Mystery is the key. Let me say that again. Oversharing personal details. Mystery. Your mystery is a key. The next thing is seeking validation instead of letting respect come naturally. Seeking validation instead of letting respect come naturally. What does it mean? You're seeking everybody to, oh, you're something special. You know what you're saying. Oh my God. Yeah, you're the best. You're seeking validation instead of letting respect come naturally. Oh, I can hear the rap song in the background. You got a big mouth. Yeah, that was by Houdini. Got a big mouth. The next part is not maintaining a controlled presence. Silence without confidence is awkward. Oh my God. Pay attention to this. Not maintaining a controlled presence. Silence without confidence is awkward. You just sitting there just you quiet, but you just looking crazy. Not maintaining a controlled presence. Silence without confidence is awkward. You can see that when certain interviews, how that person just trying to be cool. They're applying all the principles that I talk about today, but they have no confidence in who they are. And they look completely awkward. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why? It's because they have not they have not controlled presence and confidence in who they are, and now they look awkward. Example is this: watch any interview with a powerful figure. Notice how little they say compared to the impact of their presence. Notice how little they say compared to the impact of their presence. I remember I was on a panel with Alfie and some other people that are big right now. I mean, Fresh and Fit and some other people. And I realized I didn't need to really say that much. I wanted some other, it was a big panel. So it wasn't just them, but there was some individuals that were on. And what I did was I smiled. I didn't say much. But when I did speak, I let it be known. I didn't need to hog the show. I didn't need to say I'm LDA. I've been here since 2007. I have game that's not just online, but offline. I didn't need to announce all that. I didn't need to say I'm from the church and all. I didn't need to do all that. I sat back. They said, LDA, you ain't saying nothing. Oh, I'm going to say something. And when it was time for me to say something, I slowed down, spoke with confidence, and said what I need to say. You can say that comes from maturity, yes, but it comes from being able to read the room. I realized I didn't need to prove anything to anyone. I didn't need to say, I got the best game out there. I got more women. I done did all this. No, I don't need to do all none of that. Who I am speaks for itself. And I remember on that panel, I just chilled, relaxed, and watched, observed. But when it was time for me to speak, you better believe what I said was impactful. That's how you master influencing without saying a word. Now, I'm gonna challenge you. This is a call to action. This is what I want you to do, because I'm about to end. Speak 50% less today and observe how people react. This is the challenge for you. This is the challenge for today. If you're part of the thinking class, because the thinking class is not just thinking, it's doing. Speak 50% less today and observe how people react. What does that say? Speak 50% less today and observe how people react. You'll be amazed how people will be like, is something wrong with you? What's going on? Will something happen? You need some money? What's going on? They don't know how to respond. Speak 50%. This is the challenge to everyone who's listening. Speak 50% less today and observe how people react. Observe how people react when you begin to speak 50% less. I do it in certain settings, and people just like, oh my God, they fall into, I call it, they fall into the gap where they have to fill the void with their words. And that's when you master listening. Master silence isn't about being passive. It's about being in control. Please pay attention to what I just said, because it's powerful. Mastering silence is about being passive. It's about being in control. Let me slow it down for those in the back of the room who need to get their pencils and crayons and get their doodads. Mastering silence isn't about being passive. It's about being in control. If you enjoyed this, The Art of Silent Power, Mastering Influence Without Saying a Word, I want to thank you for listening to the thinking class today. When the show ends, I need you to write in the comments, this is what I want you to write in the comments. I want you to pick not a word, but I want you to pick the number 6. Only the people who listen to the end will get it. Put a number 6 in the comments after this video. What are you going to do? After this video, I want you to put the number 6 in the comments. So the challenge to you, speak 50% less today and observe how people react. When this is over, I want you to put the number 6 in the comments when this video ends. And if you enjoy this, hit the super chat, hit the Cash App, show a brother some love up in here. I'm about to go to the gym because I didn't get to go this morning. I've been setting up this whole new podcast space where it's completely nice. I love it. It's amazing. I'm not in the normal setting that I normally had, but I want you to, that when this video ends, Put a 6 in the comments. Why are you putting that in there? Only those who listen to this will get what we're talking about. But my challenge to you, speak 50% less today and observe how people react. Nod your head. And I want you to really pay attention. Let me say this about the thinking class. It's about growing you into the best version of the man that you can be. And I know there's women that listen, but I'm talking to the men. It's about growing you into the best version of the man that you can be. That's why I call when spirituality and the game combines, you have the thinking class. Because you need the spiritual side to connect to the Almighty. But you need the street smart so that you know how to move on this earth as a God. With that being said, you know what that means. LDA, you guys, thank you for listening. Don't forget to put in the comments the number 6, and I'm out. See you next week.